Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Legal Content Chat. Today we are talking about what opportunities await lawyers outside of the legal box, which the title has already caused some questions and controversy. What is a legal box? How do you get out of it? And all sorts of other questions besides. So we have the man, the myth, the legend, John Gregson here today, employment lawyer at Weightmans, which I'm super excited about. John's been begging me a couple of times to come on, and I thought, you know what? This sounds like the perfect time. Let's kick off back in September with a brand new series. So I thought I would let him come along and talk to you today. So John, please introduce yourself and tell the viewers and listeners how delighted you are to be here, please.
Thank you, Becky. So no, I am absolutely. So yes, I am an employment lawyer by day. I am partner at Weightmans. I basically practice employment law. I do that for some of our biggest corporate clients. I think it's no secret as to some of those are. So I have some interesting ways you look at postmen. And if you get on aeroplanes, you'll see that again influences my way I look at the world in certain ways because of the clients I act for. Beyond that, I'm also one of our product and innovation partners. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about some of that. That helps get out of this box that we're trying to work out that I am out of, I think, or not in now, I'm not quite sure. And obviously I seem to have more recently grown into this curiosity that seems to be John from LinkedIn that seems to be shouted at me in random places at the moment and has been printed on a t-shirt in whatever sense that means as well. So I think they're the three hats as to who I am. But no, thank you for this. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. I did not know that you were on a t-shirt. You should have sent me that information so we could have discussed that in great detail. Who's wearing the t-shirt? Who got it printed? I've got many questions.
So it actually wasn't a t-shirt for me. It was Mr. Marshall, Simon Marshall, turned up with a t-shirt saying, right, I am not John Gregson from LinkedIn. So no, but I am on a t-shirt apparently. So there we go.
Wow. Well, I feel like you've made it now. You've made it. Not only have you made it on LinkedIn, but you've also made your way onto a t-shirt. So
it's like something slightly disconcerting that people are walking around. I mean, at least it wasn't my face; it was only my name. But I want a t-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I imagined a face, definitely, like super ginger face. That's what I thought we were going with. No,
don't give people ideas. I get enough weird stuff kind of sent to me in messages and stuff online. I don't need ideas of kind of full-on face tattoos and on cushions. Okay. That really don't.
On cushions. Oh, you see, you're your own worst enemy because you just keep giving me ideas.
Yeah, please don't send me cushions with my face on. No, I don't need any of that kind of idea.
Okay, great. Talking of comments, please say hello if you're here. We love to hear your comments. I especially will love all of your comments. John might not love all of them because I know we may have a couple of hecklers in the audience today. So if you've got any questions for John as we go, please drop them in the chat and then I will ask him them if I deem them to be appropriate, which I'm sure that they will be. One very quick thing to mention, which I've forgotten to mention already because I've not done these for a couple of weeks. I'm a bit out of practice. You may well have seen, if you'd have registered for this event today, that I'm running a special offer for a website audit, okay? So it's really important that your website does what it's supposed to do, okay? So it's supposed to get people there and then it's supposed to encourage them and compel them to get in touch with your law firm, okay? So if your content on your website is not doing that, or you think, oh, this is a bit cringy, I did this a few years ago and I don't think it really says what we do anymore, then you're going to want to get yourself a website audit, okay? Special offer, 5 spaces, £78, normally $299. Feel like I'm on QVC right now. Link will be in the chat. Get involved, okay? We are going to move on to you, John. So legal boxes and getting out of them, okay? What was the idea behind, I know I came up with the topic, okay? But start us off from the beginning. Like, how did you get the feeling that you might want to be out of your box?
Okay, so I've been a lawyer, an employment lawyer for, 19 years tomorrow, actually. I've been at Weightmans, so 17 years of that I've been a qualified lawyer. I think I've always had the sense that I need to do something more than just be a lawyer. Part of being the lawyer for me is always like, how do I add value? That's always been a key part of what I do. But in a real sense, that's about what else do I do? It's not just about, disclosure, witness statements, the day-to-day piece in terms of, being an employment lawyer, employment tribunal proceedings and what goes with that. I need to be doing something more, whether that's in the kind of the client relationship side of things here at Weightmans. I do a lot with the early careers team in terms of what we do for kind of the next generation of people coming through. I've always need to have something else as part of what I do. I can't just be kind of being a lawyer and doing the day job. And I think as I've kind of gone through my career and progressed, I've kind of gone, well, what is that? What do I find interesting? What excites me? What kind of means I can kind of come in every day, do what I do and want to keep doing things differently. And through the years, there's been lots of different parts of that. But then I guess as I've kind of progressed, careers progressed, one of the things I've gone is, well, am I a lawyer that just handles files, deals with clients? I do some stuff in the early careers team. or what else is there to do? And then more recently, I guess over recent years, one of the things I've got into is innovation, product innovation, and that's kind of dovetailed into some of the initiatives and some of the things we start to do in the firm. And so what I've done, and I guess my career has broadened out into, is I'm not just a lawyer that handles files, works with clients. I broaden out into other things as well. So if that legal box is me being a lawyer in the day-to-day sense of what most people be a lawyer is, no, I'm not anymore. I blend that with a lot of other things. And that's where the product innovation role, I guess, comes into this now for me. So it's about what else I do, where I add value, where you get the value from what I do being a lawyer, and we can apply that elsewhere, I guess, is fundamentally what this is about for me.
Absolutely. Okay. And do you think that your other ventures in terms of innovation, do you think that makes you a better lawyer? Do you think it makes you more well-rounded as a person? What's your feelings on that?
It is. And, I don't say this lightly, but so I've been doing this 2.5 years now in a formal sense. I guess I've probably been doing it for a lot longer in an informal sense of part of just my day-to-day work. But since I've kind of picked this up, I probably would say I've learnt more about parts of this firm, parts of the way the teams work or the clients work or the processes work, because I get exposure now right across the entire firm. I get exposure into different practice areas. I see different parts of the kind of business services parts of the firm that you just don't see, because that's part of what my role talks to. And I think I can talk in a moment perhaps as to what exactly some of this looks like. But I think I've learned more in a broader sense now. And I bring all that back and I apply all of that into what then is, I guess, the traditional lawyer-client relationship part of what I do. So as much as it lets me do other things, I still translate and bring all that back into what my day job is in some of that. So absolutely much more rounded, and just it's just given me much more insight, I think, into being, what this is, I guess, being a lawyer, where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can well imagine that. So it's just a case of not sticking. I think we'll go with the box analogy, right? Because we've started with it, so we'll just carry on. But yeah, not sticking in your box or sticking in your lane. It's just getting out there and exploring what else there is and where else you can add value. Yeah. So let's look at some practical things. So what kind of things have you been doing outside of your box?
Okay, so there's probably good examples, and I'll keep it in the employment context because that's the bread and butter for what I do. So I think where this really started from was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We had a number of claims for a client. I'm talking the thousands, which are out of the ordinary, relating to a particular type of claim that were popping up. And it was an extraordinary number that was coming through, to the point it was overwhelming the client, and it was putting resource and real time into what we do. And we had to do something about that, because it wasn't just the volume of claims that impacted on the cost of the client of us. And it was just becoming a point where everything was grinding to a halt. What we did there was go, well, we need to do something different. We need to do something that actually tries to solve this. And what is that? So what we did for the first time was we actually kind of took all the data and all the metadata that sat behind those claims, and we visualized it, and we plotted all those claims visually across the map of the UK to go, well, where are they coming from? Is there anything that kind of emerges in the data to show there's one particular place, one particular area, one particular type of those claims? And when we did that, what came out was the fact that there was a hotspot, I think it was in the West Midlands somewhere, that kind of had about 60% of those claims. From that, we were able to go underneath that and go, well, why is that? And there was one particular trade union rep that was particularly litigious and was just jumping on something and absolutely kind of pushing these claims through. So from that, able to then go and speak to that rep and go, look, we're trying to resolve this underlying issue. You don't need to put the claims in. If you just hold breath for a minute, talk to us, we can sort something. Obviously a little bit more to things, but we've got to a point where actually he stopped putting the claims in. We're able to resolve it. That brought the number of claims down. It brought the legal cost down for the client. And actually, it was a way we can use the data and what we know from the existing claims to try and get to a better place for the client. The reality was, just given the sheer volume of what we were dealing with, you would never have seen that looking at spreadsheets full of data, because there was just too much. It was only when you started to visualize it that we actually went, this is what the data is telling you. This is what the story is. So off the back of that, that solved that initial problem. But what we then started to do was look at how we report for that client. So we started to take all the data, we started to visualize it, we started to look at different ways we could play that data back and what we do with it. That's opened up huge different ways then that we've actually started to work day to day with the client on the reporting, on the data side of stuff and what comes from it. Off the back of what we did there, we've then started to build out some specific tools with those clients. So one of the things we then did, and I think this is probably one of the most exciting things that we're still doing at the moment, is we looked at employment tribunal claims and we said, right, where is your biggest number of claims coming from? So where's your biggest litigation risk? Where's your biggest number of compensation spend going from? And what came through, again, when you brought all that data to life, was it's disability discrimination. And I think anyone who, here who's listening, who as any kind of HR employment experience, they'll know disability is probably always number one on the list of, headaches, issues, engagement issues. It's the difficult one. It's the one that is always there. So what we were able to do then is go, okay, well, let's pull those claims out. Let's have a look at them. What sits underneath it? What's causing them? What's bringing them to be claims that ultimately end up on my desk? And when we went underneath that, it was decision-making, it was ownership, it was confidence, and it was managers being able to actually deal with the issues that sat underneath those things. There wasn't really a light bulb moment under it. It was stuff we knew, and it was stuff the client knew. But then it was, okay, well, how do we deal with that? How do we get hold of that? And how do we actually stop these claims becoming claims and get a solution for the client right the way back at the source? So actually, you don't need me for that piece. And then from that, what we've done is we've taken some of the tech, some of the products that we have here, and we've just built some very, very simple decision-making tools. So one of them is around disability, how we help managers kind of augment the decision-making process on disability. So we've overlaid, the legal tests, we've taken some questions, and we've built that in. And we've put the ownership, we've put the consistency, we've put the decision-making, the things that we know were causing problems in the cases. We've almost reverse engineered that back, overlaid it into some of the tech that we've got here on some of our kind of decision-making tools, and built some tools out and kind of hopefully tried to solve the problems that we know lead to cases and kind of front-loaded that. And so what we've done from that is we've been able to roll that out to clients. We've got one client that's got kind of 10,000 HR managers now using that in the aim that actually we solve the problem at source. So we then don't get claims that come out the other end of that. So what we're trying to do really, and kind of what I suppose I'm talking to is, it's about trying to solve the client problems at source. So we then don't get claims at the other end of it. I don't want tribunal claims on my desk. I'd rather spend my time working with you to solve these issues at a much, much earlier kind of stage of things, because then you don't need me in the simplest sense. So they're the kind of ideas, they're the kind of things that we're looking to do in this. And again, for me, that's where we add value to the client, in that, trying to solve this. I don't just want to turn claims over for you at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I can imagine you're adding that value to clients. And I mean, generally, they're very appreciative, I'm assuming. I'm very interested that you're diving into this data. Have you had any pushback at all? Or
No, and I think for me, this is where it kind of comes down to relationships. And actually, this is what clients should be expecting from us, because, we turn over hundreds, thousands of claims a year. They know that. They know what claims they've got, but we're the ones that can go with them and tell them what that means. We can tell them what the insights into that data is. We can tell them why they've got stuff. But then also we should be able to work with them and tell them what we can do to make this better, how we can solve it, how we can improve things, how we can kind of intervene at an early stage. That's got to be actually what you're coming to us for. You're not coming to us for really the law, the legal representation piece. You're coming to us for how we can work with you to improve things across the board, how we can bring your legal spend down, bring your litigation risk down. And if it's with an internal legal client, it's with a HR client, how we make them look better internally into their own stakeholders in the business to make things better for them. So, clients completely on board with that, because we're helping to add that value back into the business through actually being, it's not just a kind of a legal partner with them, it's almost kind of being that kind of innovation partner in a sense, but using their own real life lived experiences to do that.
Yeah, and I guess it can sometimes feel like you're going down a bit of a rabbit warren with all this data. It's like, okay, we found this out, okay, and then we'll go underneath and see this as well. So I bet that must be fascinating.
It is, and what we can then do is go, well, actually, if you look at some things, and I think it's a byproduct of employment, but people, it's dealing with people. Employment touches across a lot of things. If actually you go, well, this is what your data is showing, I don't know, in Liverpool, this particular issue, chances are there's a people element to that. So there won't just be employment issues there. There might be health and safety issues. There might be personal injury issues. Actually, if you find the source of that, it then touches on lots of different issues that we can help you get underneath. And once you start to overlay your different areas and you start to look at that, suddenly there's real value that comes out of that. And actually, we can help solve. It's not just the issues I'm dealing with. There's probably other things in there as well. So it is actually quite fascinating when you start looking at things through that kind of lens and to see, what that actually tells you and what, the client is then able to do with that off the other side of it.
Yeah, and the lawyers that I speak to that I really feel are really nailing it are those that are doing work to be proactive rather than reactive, which is exactly what you're striving to do, right? Look to the source of those problems first and see if you can fix them rather than waiting for the problems to roll in and just kind of mindlessly working through them.
Yeah, it has to be. I really don't see the benefit in going, it's good for us because we get the claims out of it. It's got to be you go the other way. And this is actually about trying to stop the claims at source. That's got to be what we're here for. It has to be.
Yeah. So have you got a current challenge that you're working on at the moment with data to solve?
So I think what we're trying to do is get to a place where actually, disability, some of the other tools, we've got some tools on holiday pay, they're very much the first step. This should be a whole suite of employment tools for me. I mean, that's just with my employment lawyer hat on. I do what I do for all of our corporate clients. So, we've got some stuff with some transport regulatory tools. I've learned more about talking wheels on HGVs and O licenses recently than I'd ever think I'd ever need to know about HGV. Probably get myself into one at the moment. There's lots of different stuff around that. We're doing stuff right across the board with lots of different tools. So there's lots of different. I think the biggest thing is it's understanding the client problem. Once you understand the client problem, then you can get involved in it. And it could literally be anything and everything because, fundamentally everybody here is coming to us with a problem. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're busy in that sense. So all of those things probably have something we can get involved in. But for me, it's about trying to get something, I guess, that is, something that's consistent and maybe scalable and we can then repeat elsewhere because it shouldn't just be for one client. We should be able to roll that out across the board.
Definitely. Good old John O'Randell Nash has come in with a question for you. Here he is. First question of the session. Do you get any pushback from clients or internally? Sort of my question, John. I see you've stolen a little bit there. Or internally about this innovation, or does the 60% visual claims act as the beacon for the potential benefits?
I don't think we get it from clients. I think clients, as long as they can see the benefit for what they're getting from it, absolutely not. Internally, I think, and this is partly why I guess I'm in the role's developed into what it is in terms of having someone that is part of my role is, I don't think it's pushback. I think it might be apprehension, a little bit of reluctance. There's definitely a hearts and minds piece to what I do, and that could be, I don't understand the technology. We don't do that kind of work that attracts innovation. I've had meetings with that. I don't really understand it. I don't get it. I can't do that. There's always those kind of things. And so it's about, can we get people on board? Sometimes you have to kind of show them what you've got in the cupboard to be able to see this is the kind of thing you can do. Sometimes it might be, well, okay, let's just have a conversation with your client so we can do that. A large part of what I do now is joining the dots up. So it's getting the client partners with the innovation team, maybe with the product team, just to kind of start to have those conversations with it. So I don't think it's pushback in a sense. I think it's maybe a little bit of apprehension or it's a little bit of reluctance. Sometimes it goes the other way. It'll be, I've seen this and I really want it. Can I have it? Okay, but is there a problem? Have you got a client that will pay for it? No, I like it. Or, somebody's rang me up and it seems like a really good idea, but it's not what we do. We kind of have a lot of the kind of field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. Well, they don't because actually it's not. And, I don't look like Kevin Costner. So we have lots of those kind of things that don't quite work. So it's trying to get through what is your problem and have you got a paying client? That's the key bit.
Yeah.
And there is obviously, a lot of client partners sometimes they'll be like, no, that's not me. But that's why I wouldn't be doing this in a more formal role sense if they were all on board with it. I'd still be in employment.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So since you've been doing this side gig, as we'll say, any other partners or lawyers at your firm that have been like, oh, maybe I want to explore something a bit different?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are, I'm going to say 6 of us. Hopefully nobody else is watching if I can't count. Maths is not my strong point. There are 6 of us that are kind of in this kind of formal role. We've had a little bit of turnover into that, and there's definitely people that have seen it and gone, I'm really keen, I'm really interested in getting into doing this. So I think people see it as being, it's a really good opportunity to do something a little bit different. It's good in terms of profile. It's good just to broaden your experience out. And I think it is that fact of just turning files over. That's not going to help you from a career perspective. That's not going to help you just get, if you want to talk about kind of brands in that sense, but just to get, why me? Why should I do something different? That's not enough anymore. This is a way to get into that. This gets you into every part of the business. This gets you into rooms with clients to be able to have conversation with clients about, what keeps them awake at night. Gets you into doing things that you just don't really see anymore. We've got a whole team now, and we've just grown by, I think it's 11 people this year in products and innovation that's got, multi-million-pound budgets into. There's real investment going into this area. This is what we do. This is why with the money, this is where kind of the direction of the firm is going. People see that, they want to be involved in it. So it's a really exciting part for it. And I think people kind of get that there's a lot here and there's a lot of opportunity here. If you want to make something of it, it's the key thing.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for lawyers that might be watching this that may be inspired now to think a little bit differently about their futures and not turning over files for the rest of their days?
I think for me, and I've always said this, and it doesn't need to be in this sense, you can do it in anything, is I think you just have to be willing to try something. That's the biggest thing now. We know some people just want to come in and do the work absolutely fine. I think it's about, you just have to be willing to have a go. That's the main thing. Might be for you, might not be. Absolutely fine. As long as you've got the platform, it's up to you what you want to make of it. You just have to see. And then from there, it's what can come from it. There will always be an opportunity somewhere. You might think it's for you, you might not. You don't know. What I'm doing now is fundamentally, it's just client relationships. It's just doing that client relationship in a slightly different way. That's all this is. It's understanding that. So for me, you just have to have a go. You have to try things. It's like going on a client's secondment. It's like doing work with a different team. You just have to have a go with these things and see where that gets you to.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of comments coming in. John is very happy with the Field of Dreams quote. It's what he's here for, apparently. So, aim to please. That's what we are here to do that. And your friend Simon, do you think that innovation will remain its own department, or will it be the norm in the future and subsumed back into other departments?
Maybe. I mean, sounding like a lawyer here, doesn't it? It depends.
It depends.
It does depend. No, I don't know if Kat is here. She'll probably strangle me if she is. But I think it would be nice if it were the normal. But I think there was a long way to go. And I think that's just the reality of, where we and a lot of firms are, is that to get it to the normal probably is a little way off yet. We've come an awful long way here as a firm. I think there may well need to be some separation of that, because we've got the dedicated resource development, the R&D that we do as part of the innovation team. I think there is something about having that separate that actually works quite nicely, because it stops us being siloed. It stops us going, we're going to do this in this team, and actually we're then doing that in every other team because nobody's talking to each other. We're able to prioritize. We're able to look at things in that way. So I think that it will have its own department. What I think would be quite nice if actually, though, it was the communication that joined up and it maybe had a foot in all of the departments. But I think that will take time. That will take natural evolution before we get there, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to go back and touch on what you said a moment ago, which is just client relations, right? It's a funny one. I mean, I speak to a lot of lawyers about BD and marketing, and that isn't always top on the priority. And that, I think that really ties into that client relations piece. So, I mean, I would just say, like, don't underplay what you're doing, because, the fact that you're doing all of this and actually being so proactive is streets ahead of what like traditional lawyers are actually, doing day to day. So, yeah, it's really important what you're doing.
Yeah.
Simon, if I gave you a 1 million advertising budget, what would you spend it on? Oh, I think he's asking Jono.
It's a conversation.
Are you having your own conversation here? Is this for us? Because yeah, please clarify, because you could just pop into his DMs if you like and have that conversation. Feel free. If you could just put the relevant questions in this chat, that would be super. Thank you. So I completely lost my train of thought then and what I was going to do. So, talking about being a successful lawyer and having other ventures too, what was your light bulb moment where you thought, you know what, I actually want to do something different? Was there like a spark that happened? Can you remember a couple of years ago?
In this sense of things, I don't think there was a particular spark. I've always done things. I've always tried to have a little bit of something else going on. I think that's always been the case for me. I've always wanted to have that something else that breaks up the, I want to say, monotony of being an employment lawyer. That sounds because it's not. I think it's the most interesting job you can have. I really love what I do. But I've always had something. I think probably what formalized it was we crystallized the product innovation team 2.5 years ago, and that became something where there was defined roles. And that was, well, actually, I can blend that into what I do. So I think that was something for me to get into probably 2 years ago. So it's always been a bit of an organic growth for me, in that I had something else I could be doing and I could get on with and I could develop into. It's probably just formalized itself about 2 years ago. I think, though, kind of take that away slightly in a different direction, is I'm always kind of looking for an opportunity for something. So I'm quite good at going, there's something, what could I make of that? What could I do with that? What could I take from that? I'm quite good at seeing those things. And I think this is where naturally that kind of come into it. And I've gone, yeah, you could run with that. You could do that. Same way you can see a client problem and opportunity. They're the kind of things I can jump on the back of and go, we'll do something there. And I think this career sense was the piece for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's just how you work, right? For me, because I've been working in marketing for so long, I always want to say, but why? But why? If someone says they do something, really want to get to the root of how you actually help people and how you change lives and why you do it, really. So I'm interested. Do you use AI for any of your tech or innovation tools?
So we've got some stuff, and we've got some larger projects at the moment going on about where we can look to embed it and develop it across the firm. What some of those tools I've talked about, we look to kind of augment the intelligence to something. So we've got it kind of working in different levels about it, because again, with some of the stuff I have, really conscious that the ownership still needs to be with the managers using it, or the people using it still need to own things. So we can augment their decision making and we can help them along with it, but it still needs to be their decision on it. But no, we are in a wider sense. We've got lots of projects running in the background as to where, when, and again, where that value is best added and what the return on that for us will be. So yeah, we've got quite a lot going on at the minute in different places, because we just have to be really careful that it's actually, we're doing it for a reason. And, but why is not for the sake of doing it because everybody suddenly decides we need to get involved in this and do it. Where's the value? What does it add? What does it give us back? I think is the key thing.
Yeah. What's the general consensus on AI tools at Weightmans?
I think we're of a view of, look, it is something else, and it will obviously it will come, it will have its moment, but it's just something that will help us, in the same way. I'm probably just about old enough, young enough. Email, when that came in, was going to take everybody's job and ruin it. Actually, it's just something else we then do. It's just another advancement and move on technology-wise in terms of something that we will have to do. It needs to find its own level. It needs to find a place as to where it will help us with things. This is just what happens. It's just life. It's just where it gets to. It will have a role for us. We just need to find what that is and how we best use it to get to where we need to be with it. It's not something to be fearful of. It's probably also not something that we all need to rush, to the edge of the cliff with and dive in on, because that's where it will be. It's finding what that level is. It's finding how we use it. And then we do what we do best, probably, I guess, is to make advantage of that to help, again, solve a problem. In 5 years, it'll probably be just the same as an email as it came along and it changed what we do. But that's what we've done.
I don't think I was around when people were saying that emails were going to take over jobs. I don't think so. I'm probably just too young now, so that's what it is.
Yeah, but in some ways, that has, I think I probably am too young, I'm going to say I am, but that must have had some kind of change, mustn't it? If you think, every letter would be typed and sent and printed, and that's changed, but we're still here. It hasn't brought an end to everything. There's still roles change. That's all that will happen. It will just evolve in a natural way. I might be completely wrong, and in 5 years I might have a job, in my life. Completely could be. But we just take that kind of slightly more pragmatic view with it, of it will find a level and we will, naturally evolve into that, I guess. Yeah,
and as a lawyer being naturally risk averse, I guess other people should try it first and see what's going to happen.
It is, it's not something to shy away from, but it will find its own place, and then we use it in the right way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I completely agree. If there are lawyers watching this today and think, you know what, I don't want to be shuffling papers around on my desk for the rest of my days, how can people get in touch with you? I'm assuming LinkedIn is the best route.
It's going to be LinkedIn again, isn't it? Yeah, all roads at the moment seem to lead back to LinkedIn, I think, in some ways or other.
I know. Well, you are becoming somewhat a celebrity on that, so it's not a surprise.
But again, that for me, I guess, is part of this box piece and how you can be evolve and do things around it. And it has been that for me. It's about, that kind of, is it the brand piece perhaps? But it's how you develop and move that out. And again, that is part of that piece around an opportunity, how you find that, how you identify that, and how you build on that and move that out. I have to look at Simon and thank him for that in the main, because he was the one. But, that started off in a very different place to where we are now. But it was about taking that and running with it and developing that. That again, is something for me about how you can do that and make something from that.
Yeah, and I love seeing it now. I think every day, almost seems like there's another lawyer on LinkedIn, making their stamp, doing something a little bit different, maybe a bit controversial, or giving their opinion or something that they're doing. It's all really interesting to see, and it is building that personal brand, which is something that can only help with your work as well. So yeah, I love to see it. And as I said earlier off air, I do love your posts. They do make me chuckle quite a lot. Jono's got a quick question. Do you think this opportunity came at the right time for you, or do you wish you'd come across innovation earlier in your career?
I think it probably came at the right time. So it came at the point where I'm a partner, I'm an employment lawyer, I've got my own clients, I've got the relationships, I've got probably enough kind of time spent behind me that I could go and do something a little bit different. And I've also got the experience, I guess, to be able to balance that into still doing the day job, at the same time, without anything falling away from that. As I say, I think it's been a natural progression. I've been doing these things. So I think it was probably right for me to evolve into this at the right time for it. Could I have come across it earlier? Were we at that place as a firm earlier? Probably not in all of those senses. So I think it's probably the right place at the right time. But again, I think I've always kind of fallen quite lucky on that in various different things, in the right place at the right time, to be honest. So no, for me, it was the right opportunity, and then I've made the most of that, I think, is the answer, to be honest.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. So is there anything else you would like our viewers / listeners to know before we wrap up for today and let everyone get on with their lunch? Or they might even be multitasking and eating at the same time, right?
No, I think we've touched on most of it all. I think, again, it comes down to, doesn't it? It's about making the most of an opportunity for you. And, for some people, we go back to the box point, we know what that is. It's about, you can stay in that box if you want to. That's absolutely fine. But if you want to do something different, there's opportunities, whether that be innovation, different roles, different things. The LinkedIn piece, I think, is a good example of those different things you can do. It's what you make of it. There is support, there's opportunity out there. It's really up to people what you build on those platforms, I think, is for me, that's what this comes down to at any point in your career.
Yeah, and I feel that today you've given people permission almost, to explore something else. There doesn't always have to be, that doesn't have to be it, right? You can explore and look for other opportunities. So yeah, I think that's very, very good. If anyone else has got any questions, please drop them in now because we are about to wrap up. And don't forget, you've only got until the end of this live to claim your website audit offer. Okay, so 5 spots. I think we've got coming up 3 left now. So jump in. Okay, it's a good one. And I just wanted to tell you also about our event in a couple of weeks' time. We've got the 2 Helens coming on. September seems to be a nice employment law theme, right? I don't know whether you saw, John, but I've got 2 Helens from Complex HR coming on, and they're going to be talking to me about absence management, how to manage absence in your firm and not be a twat, which will be nice. I thought we'll totally be.
Yeah, I've gone the whole way through without talking about trains and anything to do with trains, and then you just drop that in. Yeah.
I know.
You're my best media.
Please let's not bring that back, the train thing. But yeah, how much money is your law firm losing due to poor absence management is the title of our LinkedIn Live 2 weeks today at midday. So yeah, the 2 Helens, double trouble, I'm definitely going to have my hands full because they are a force to be reckoned with, the pair of them. But it should be a fun one. So thank you for coming on today, John. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been lovely. And thank you for watching, everybody, as always, and go and enjoy the rest of your days. Catch you later.